Okay. Well, yeah, I was trying to pop that up so I can see who all's
I'll
popping
get it
in.
here for you now. It's live.
All right, guys, we are live here. We're gonna wait a little bit before we get going, Jimmy. But
Hey.
this is Jim Spence, owner of JSA, and we're usually it takes we get the announcement that blasts out there we're live, and then people start to roll on. There's that one. Yep. Is that it? Yep. All right. You got multiple computers on. You start getting the feedback and stuff.
Okay.
So we'll you got that up? Does it show people on? Yeah. So we'll wait a few minutes and we can just talk about whatever. I had meant to just pop it up and then have you jump in, but I'm figured we'd just jump in and go. But we can talk about general stuff. It's like how busy you been lately in terms of people sending stuff into you directly.
Oh, very much. We've received all kinds of every day in our office. We have FedEx, UPS, Postal Service, other carriers. In fact, they've been delivering us packages. We've had no problem with that. That's been a nice, healthy flow. We've actually had people, drop off submissions to our office as well. They can't linger, but they've actually dropped things off. And fortunately, there's no problem with that. We've got a nice, healthy flow coming in here.
Yeah, great. All right, well, why don't I just jump in here with instead of rambling here on my end, but pleased to have Jim Spence from JSA Authentication here today, and this is our second interview. That first one that's actually going to be live on Facebook, so I shouldn't even say second interview. This is the first shot for us. So, and I appreciate you joining us. Why don't you start out telling us a little bit about your history? You've been around the hobby forever, and your history on the authentication side of things, and start there.
Well, autographs are not new with me. I mean, my grandfather, James Spence, same name, and my father, same. They were both collectors. So I was around this since day one. I've always been surrounded by autographs and collections. My father collected stamps as well and coins, and it always seemed like it was just natural that we were hunter-gatherers or whatever. But my grandfather, back in the 1930s, he had a very large collection of autographs, mostly through the mail. And that gave me the idea of, starting up my own collection. And I would either write or go to the stadium. I lived not far away from Yankee Stadium. I grew up maybe about 6-7 miles away. So I would go there, get autographs, go to all different functions. If somebody was opening up a car dealership, or perhaps there was a liquor store, and Jim Catfish Hunter was there signing autographs along with Jim Mason or whoever. So I was always collecting. Obviously, I collected baseball cards as a kid as well, and I enjoyed getting them signed. So it all worked out real well. I mean, as far as a collector is concerned. And somewhere in my mid-20s, I decided, to do this as a part-time job. I got involved in going to shows, setting up, and one thing led to another. I became a nationally known dealer, ended up becoming full-time in it. And then early in the 90s, I started actually authenticating. I got a certificate in forensic document examination, and I realized that there was a big void, a need for authentication in this industry. Many auction houses, sought my opinion. I used to give them letters, and then eventually things moved on from there. I mean, what happened is the auction houses started to sprout up all over the place, and it got way too much for me to try and sell as well as authenticate. And I realized that along the way there could be some conflict of interest, or at least some perceived conflict. So I went totally into authenticating. I probably haven't sold anything in well over 15 years. As you know, I started PSA DNA back in 1999 when Collectors Universe went through their IPO. I was with them for 6 years, and in 2005, in fact, in a couple of days, it'll be JSA's 15th anniversary. So,
Wow.
yeah, so that
Awesome.
went by fast.
Yeah.
And it's neat now. We have an office not only here in Parsippany, New Jersey, but also down in Fort Lauderdale. And my oldest son runs that office down in Fort Lauderdale. So there are family members that work for me. I have two sisters. I had a brother working for me as well. And my other son, Ryan, is our marketing and advertising manager. So, we're a little bit down right now in terms of the staff, but we have never stopped. We're still getting orders out. In fact, I think we're getting them out faster than ever for the turnaround, mainly because we don't have much weekend work right now until things get back to normal with the convention shows and store appearances.
Yeah, hopefully that won't be that'll be sooner rather than later, at least to some degree. I know it's going to be challenging for the bigger shows, especially. I mean, we're up in the air. I've had a lot of people asking. We're hoping to, we were scheduled to have you guys out in June. I don't know if that's a reality or not. That'll probably be our first show back. We're not right now. We're 2 weeks off before we get to the next point where our governor will change things. Anyway, it's still in the shelter in place deal. So hopefully by June, which is the second week of June, we have our show going again. I don't think it's realistic that we probably get you guys out at that time, but we'll see. I mean, just only because we may not know if we're going to be able to even have events. That's the thing. How long it's going to take before we're allowed to have gatherings, and what the kind of the estimated numbers are.
But it's interesting, though, what I've heard, especially from a lot of our dealer friends, because they've been sending items in and in large quantities as well. And they said they've been doing tremendous business over the internet. I realize they don't have the face-to-face experience, that they had at the shows or conventions, but they are doing a bang-up job on the internet. And I believe you mentioned that earlier, that you were doing really well as well. And that's great to hear. I mean, there's people that are hungry, to get back into this, obviously. And as long as the celebrities sign up and are willing to go back to the shows, I think this will ignite pretty quickly. Because I think, collectors need their fix. They're looking to, get back into the saddle. They want to, there's a lot of camaraderie. I mean, you got to imagine all of the friends that they've met over the years, and they enjoy talking to people, whether they're standing online or seeing dealers that they've known for years and years. I mean, I certainly have enjoyed that over the years. I've made a tremendous amount of friendships like yourself. I mean, we've actually been on a few vacations together.
Yeah.
So, that's been part of, the social experience as well as the professional experience blending in with each other. So that I think we're all looking to get back into the saddle in that respect.
Very, very sad because our we had a golf trip scheduled to go on here, and I think next Monday, right? We were supposed to take off Monday, so Myrtle Beach is canceled this year. Maybe Hilton Head later in the year. So it's different. I'm sitting here. My schedule is totally been reshaped, so now I'm more in the evenings, late in the day and evenings, online. I don't know how I'm gonna sneak away other than Sundays. We'll see. Once the store opens, that adds a whole new dynamic back to it. So, but everything's changing. That's the norm right now.
It's an interesting dynamic that I've seen. I mean, I don't have all the employees that I normally have here. So what's happened is I've been able to see my business because it's grown up, and I've stopped doing certain things in the business, but I've taken a look at how some of the processes are here in my office, and I'm realizing that I could do this more efficiently, and I'm able to roll up my sleeves and get my hands in on some of the day-to-day procedures, and I'm noticing that I think I can change and make things more efficient and getting things out faster to people. So I'm realizing that there is some good that came out of this, and I'm talking more to the customers now than ever. I'm picking up the phone a lot more. I can tell you that.
Right.
So it's been quite an experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of the things that I was kind of thinking about was, talking about the value of authentication. I mean, I'm sure that several of the people on here have done authenticate, been involved in our authentication days when you guys have been out, or have had stuff authenticated, whether we ship it in or whatever. But a lot of there's still that piece of that concept that, well, I know it's good, or I'm comfortable with it. But there's a lot of value to getting things, especially of value, authenticated, just so that people have it for future generations. Peace of mind, whatever. But there's a lot of positives to getting it done, aside from obviously there's expense.
Well, people have told me over the years, and there's one thing I've always remembered with this, especially with authenticating items, it makes the item marketable. It doesn't really matter what you or the collector feels, if he thinks it's good or not, but it really means a lot to have that third-party authentication. It's important because it gives you not just a peace of mind, but it allows you, if you wanted to sell the item at a certain point in time, whenever that might be, an auction house, a dealer, a collector will accept that as being valid. And I think that assurance is really, really important. I notice a lot of people, even when they're giving it as a gift, they want the person to feel good about it. And it's not just a story that comes along with the item when you buy it, and how you got it from some old man, or your grandfather got it at the stadium, or you ran into somebody at a restaurant or whatever. People want more of an objective view, and also something that comes from our experience here at JSA. We have the largest exemplar file in the world. We have over 1 million examples of autographs in our exemplar, which is a specimen file. We have people that work for us that have chased autographs. They've collected autographs. They know the nuances of the various celebrities. They know what to look for, what things they do like to sign, where they like to sign it, what type of pens, and the flow and personalizations, and all the things about removals and auto pens and facsimiles and live signatures. And it goes on and on. I mean, that is more than that kind of information. When you put that with our exemplar file and our reputation, that's where JSA is at in terms of being able to have that confidence, in the industry. And
Sure.
Like yourself have put that trust and faith in us as well.
Right. I've tried to explain to people in the past, what you're basically buying when you're having somebody authenticate your piece is one person's opinion, but that person is educated with a huge exemplar, a huge library of examples of past signatures from players. But it's getting an expert opinion on something, correct? I mean, I've had some people like, well, that's just, if something comes back inconclusive, there's times where you've sent things back and said it's inconclusive, we don't feel comfortable authenticating or denying this. And that happens, I'd imagine, occasionally, or,
It does, but you need a way out, especially when something is on the fence. I mean, it's never one person's opinion at JSA whether something passes or fails. If it gets a letter of authenticity, it's that of the entire crew of people, all the authenticators. We're all opining, not even looking at each other's scores. We're able to independently give a score on how we feel about it. But when you put those scores all together, it either passes, fails, or, as you say, goes inconclusive. And there are times when there's just not enough, as far as the autograph is concerned. The formation is probably limited. Give you an example, Al Pacino, he basically gives you a check mark. Well, you can make a check mark too. So we don't feel comfortable in authenticating a signature that doesn't have enough strokes, enough movement to it. And in that case, we would prefer to go inconclusive. So
sure.
At that point, why not just push it back? It's a safer thing to do, because you have to be able to defend it. If we authenticate something, we want to be able to show a person, here, we have a set of exemplars that can support this or deny it, one of the other. So it's important that we do leave ourselves that option, because we don't want to knock something down if we're unsure of it. That's not fair either.
Right.
Kill it.
Well, that's information you're still sharing. I mean, it's some players, some celebrities are a lot tougher, like you say with Al Pacino. Who's the toughest guy to? I mean, a check mark's pretty tough, but I mean, who's one of the signatures that you see a fair amount that's difficult?
I think LeBron is very challenging at times. He can be, rough with his signature because it's changed over the years. You have to keep on top of that. He's stingy with his autograph. It's not like, he's signing like a Kevin Durant or somebody else that doesn't mind giving his autograph away for free. You don't have access to somebody like LeBron. I would have to say there's more Michael Jordan autographs out there than LeBron. He's been around a lot more, but these guys are not going to sit down for a public signing, perhaps private signings here and there, but the amount of autographs compared to the demand, it's limited. So somebody like that could be difficult. Now, I see, on the other hand, we see Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays, Joe DiMaggio, Ted Williams, even Muhammad Ali signed a tremendous amount of items. We see these on a daily basis, multiple times a day. So those are things that you could see those if they were upside down. And you turn off the light and put it on the other side of the room. We're going to be able to come up with an answer pretty quickly on those.
Right.
There's more formation involved in their autograph, more consistency. And we don't, in our exemplar file, it's quite interesting. Someday I'll show you this. We show the chronology of a person's autograph. So there's really an evolution. It's not really, the person doesn't really change his signature. It quite often evolves, usually to accommodate more and more autographs. You get a lot lazier, you skip a few letters, you slur things. These are things that generally happen throughout a person's life. I know I can see in just any person, non-notable people, their autographs, look at it on a check when they sign it. They're the same people are complaining about how poorly some of the athletes today sign. Their signatures don't look too much better themselves, almost like what they referred to as doctor signatures.
Right.
They're just limited. So there's really not a lot of people take pride in their signatures anymore. You don't have the Charlie Geringers or the Johnny Benches that are willing to take the time with each and every autograph that they sign. And that type of slop is because of generating so many, accommodating so many, trying to really get it out of their hands as quickly as they can.
Sure. Who do you see the most fakes of out there?
On a percentage basis, it's probably, the Tiger Woods, LeBron, Michael Jordan, but in terms of sheer numbers, Ali, Mantle, Williams, DiMaggio, those because there's just so many of those out there. And
the Ali's came out of the woodwork after he passed, right?
Yeah, with the old Operation Bullpen in the early 90s, or I should say the mid 1990s, that created a tremendous glut of bad autographs. And until they finally caught up with the Marinos out in California, there was so many that were pushed into the marketplace. But people are still making fakes today. It wasn't just them. There's all different pockets around the United States of bad autographs. But we, as an authentication service, have to keep track of that as well. So we, in our exemplar file, don't have just valid examples of people's autographs. We have the secretarial and the forged versions, and we keep track of this, and we show because we need to have this database that will show where it originated and what their style was like, because they usually make the same mistakes over and over again. And that helps us out tremendously. So you have to keep a big file on the bad signatures as well, not just the good ones, and the secretarial. So a lot of times the wives' signatures of the clubhouse personnel that were, putting these things on balls and items that came through the mail, or the request from the stadiums. So some of it was done maliciously, obviously, others not so much. That might, look at, like a bat boy from the 1950s was just trying to fill in the blanks on a ball that was half done, and you wanted to get it moving so you could give it to, some dignitary from some front office person that requested it.
Sure.
So
You use that term too, non-malicious, for secretarials, clubhouse type signatures, things like that. I mean, it's, big difference between that and Operation Bullpen Marino type auto.
Yeah, but it has, what? It has the same result though.
It does.
Even though there is a different intention, the bottom line is those signatures are invalid. They're worthless. Even if they were signed 50, 60, 70 years ago. I mean,
right.
Okay,
You're just supposed to feel better about it if it's not malicious.
I guess. I see a clubhouse signature of a Babe Ruth autograph on a 1927 ball, and some people might say, "Oh my God, it's still like 100 years old or whatever." But in my estimation, I really wouldn't want to collect that. It's not his autograph. Okay, I could name the bat boy or the clubhouse personnel that actually signed it, but what good is that? It wasn't Babe Ruth.
Right.
So that's our real poor man's Babe Ruth, and I don't know if I'd really want that in my collection at any level, whether I could or couldn't afford it. I don't think I'd really want that. Now, sometimes it's a clubhouse Babe Ruth and everybody else on the ball is valid. So the ball still has monetary value, and that then it can't necessarily be dismissed. Or maybe somebody just wants the ball for being a piece of memorabilia, an artifact that is 100 years old, but
sure,
it's still not his autograph if it was signed by someone else.
And even if Ruth was a clubhouse and the rest of the ball was good, then there's some value, obviously, depending on if it's a 27 Yankees ball, then you're still talking a lot of money. But that's a different story. If it's a single signed Ruth that isn't his signature, doesn't have much any value, I wouldn't think. It's not.
Yeah, it happened more often than people think. I mean, I've heard people, oh, this was handed down from my great grandfather or grandfather. I guess as the years go on in my career, I start hearing more and more generations being named. But it's very, very common. Or how about the guy that got something from his uncle when he was a kid, back in the 1960s and said, my uncle gave this to me. He said he got it signed by Mickey Mantle. I saw him at the stadium. And meanwhile, Uncle Leo was signing it as he was going up the driveway. He might have caught a ball in the stands. And just to make you feel good, he gave you that. Now, Uncle Leo's gone, so you can't go back to him and ask the story because he's long dead. And now you have this item that you've been virtually worshiping that's been rolling around a sock drawer for some 60 years. And I'm the guy that's going to tell you the truth. It kind of is sad at times, but the truth is the truth, and I guess it's better to know than not know before you pass it on to somebody, and then it could have some monetary implications then.
Yep. Okay. What I was saying, I got a couple more questions, and I thought we'd look at a baseball, and maybe you could give your opinions on it and what you're looking at and all that.
Right.
But one question that somebody put to me to ask you was, what you see a lot of stuff, obviously. Mm-hmm. Are there any pieces that just stand out as, oh my God? And I would imagine a lot of the auction house stuff is pretty incredible. Some of the things that get run through Heritage or any of the other REA or whatever, Mile High. Anything stand out as like you're proud to put your name on that piece?
Oh yeah. Well, most of the better stuff, generally goes to the auction house. Once in a while, I'm sure you see it too. A real artifact comes through your hands, even in a shop. It's just people perceive that that's where they're going to get the biggest, bang for their buck. But, auction houses, they take a piece of the action on both sides. They take the consignor's fee and also the buyer's fee. And they're making money on both ends. And when somebody has a really strong item, it has to get authenticated. In fact, if something's valued at over $5,000, $10,000, it's probably not a bad idea to get a couple of different opinions on it so that you could feel really, really secure. I mean, think about it. If you did spend $10,000 on an item, you would never want that to be an issue in the future. So getting that, multiple pedigrees on it is not a bad idea. There's just a few trusted authentication services in the industry. And I think it's good to have that type of competition. If we were the only game in town, then,
Sure.
It just keeps everybody in check, keeps everybody, with the thought that, something's not going to get swept under the rug, or, you're not going to compromise anything, integrities or knowledge or whatever. You just need to keep that in mind. And I know we're, very serious. You see, everybody at JSA that works for me, myself included, we're all collectors. We enjoy this stuff. I have a large collection. I really get a kick out of it. And I don't need necessarily a $10,000 item to get me excited for my collection. There are some things that I bought, for $20, $30 that I'm happy to have in my collection. They may be part of a set, and something like that, gives me a thrill and keeps me in the hunt. I think that's what collectors like, is that hunt. That's why a lot of times when I hear people saying, oh yeah, I'm going to give this to my grandson, or I'm going to give it to my kids, or whatever like that, eventually when I go, they don't always appreciate it, because why? Yeah. They may not have the same connection to it. A lot of things I collect are from my youth, or I remember my dad or grandfather talking about something. When you give somebody something, you don't even have, the hunt wasn't involved. You didn't have to wait up half the night at an auction house trying to get that item, or finding a great deal, or being able to hunt down something, making a series of phone calls or emails, trying to track down something that you heard about. So to just plop it into somebody's, lap isn't always the most ideal situation when you're trying to push a collectible onto a loved one.
Sure. That's how we get a lot of our collections. Guys are like, well, I wanted to hand it down to my. You just hit that red button. I wanted to hand it down to my my kids, but I asked and nobody wanted it. So we end up with their '50s baseball card collection, or their memorabilia collection, whatever it might be. So it's at least they asked, and
but the kids will find something else. Yeah, think about it. Kids of today are probably going to relate to something else, perhaps. This may be, and I'm not going to say it's just a baby boomer thing, because there's people that are much younger than us that are collecting this stuff. But, there's, the kid today that's 13 years old, he might have some other interest. Who knows? I don't really know. Look at it this way. 30 years ago, or even 20 years ago, I didn't see much of an interest in wrestling autographs. They were all over the place. Nobody really bothered with them. If I had them when I was selling autographs, nobody was really buying them. Then all of a sudden, look at what's really, getting attention now. The Andre the Giants, the Big John Studs, the Junkyard Dog. A lot of these guys that had, early deaths or tragedies in their lives. Think about, all that, WrestleMania and the group of people that grew up during that time. And I wouldn't say that was really part of my generation. It's more my son. My son is 35 years old. I'm starting to see that interest. So when these guys get some money in their pocket, that's what they're buying. They're not necessarily buying Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio. Right. I saw Mickey play. That was a thrill for me, albeit it was towards the end of his career, but it's still, it's a different generation that's come along, that's in the working force. The older people that are retiring, they're going to have somewhat of a limited income, it's discretionary spending. So there might be a shift, but somebody's always going to, I notice a big interest now, in say, rap artists, or even, what's really taken off are like certain business people, and they had no interest in the past, or very little. Okay, maybe a J.D. Rockefeller, but now I'm starting to see people want to collect like a Steve Jobs or a Bill Gates or a Warren Buffett. People really get into that at this point, or even somebody the whoever makes these video games or whatever.
Right.
They're chasing after their autographs, and all the animation artists, and that's, you've seen that, I'm sure, in the last 5 to 7 years, how that's taken off. Nobody had an interest in that in the past. Maybe a Charles Schultz, or
sure,
that might have been one of the few animators that people even paid attention to.
Yeah, yeah. Or, I think about the people that Lance Kirkland represents. With
Mhm.
the voices of these Disney characters. It's
Right. Yeah.
awesome. It's
Right.
huge,
Right.
huge following on that. It seems like they're getting tons of activity.
Yeah, I find that interesting. And they're doing shows like Oppenheimer, Skeletor's voice. I mean, this kind of stuff is selling and good for the people that have been entrepreneurial with that. They've been able to create, and I love to see that entrepreneurship. And Lance has done that well. And there's other people. I was shocked. I went to, I haven't gone to that many Comic Cons. I've done so many sports shows over the years. In fact, in 1993, I was looking back on my books. I did 47 weekends. I was away from home. I mean, that's a lot of weekends traveling all over the country. But now you look at some of these Comic Cons and the way people are dressed up like it's Halloween. I mean, what a tremendous interest, and the crowds that show up to these shows, they're dwarfing the sports card shows for sure, with the numbers of people, the interest, and those people. What they've been able to capture with those shows is, in my opinion, they've been able to capture the fans. They're getting a lot more of the fan base as opposed to just the collectors. And when you go to a sports card show, pretty much those people are collectors. They're not so much the fans. You do see once in a while when you have, like, I think football probably for the most part, you if you get a big name in there, yeah, you'll see some of the fans come out for that. But on the entertainment side, unbelievable. How people are dressed up in costume, and that I couldn't move in San Antonio. I guess
Really?
Arnold Schwarzenegger was the big draw down there. I mean, you couldn't walk down the aisle. That surprised the heck out of me. I couldn't believe it, and there's a lot of buzz in the room. And yes, there's a lot more guests too, and they set up and they show up, and there's a
Kind of
lot of
refreshing after, card shows, and sports in general have shifted the last couple of years. Obviously, a
Mhm.
lot more activity and more crowds. The National was insane this year, and it has continually grown the last 3 or 4 years. But there was a period of time there where it's like, the average age in the room was like, it felt like it was like 70, and kids weren't getting into it, younger people weren't getting into it, so that, and I think the comic thing has just been a straight, you know, excitement type thing, yeah. So it's a different feel, isn't it?
But I can tell you this: if you have a unique item, even in the sports industry, the demand will be there for that. If it's unique, desirable, it still will go for a ton of money. I noticed when eBay came along, it kind of like flattened a lot of the prices on the lower end stuff, because I guess nobody really knew just how many were out there. And when
Sure.
when everybody started throwing all this stuff up online, I remember as a dealer, I might have been able to get $75 for a George Sisler 3x5, and all of a sudden, when you look at them on eBay, they're selling for half of that now because there were so many that came out of the woodwork. We didn't know how many were out there, but then when it became like just one big garage sale, then you realize, wow, there's quite a bit of that out. Even for a guy that died in 1973, that was perhaps one of the greatest guys at his position. So it's interesting to see the ebb and flow, and also how the change, and well, attention is brought a lot to an autograph too when it's brought to public knowledge. If somebody already has a film or a book written about them, and they may not have had the accolades prior to that of bringing it to the attention of the public, all of a sudden people want that person's autograph. If they
Yeah.
and I can remember back, one of the ones that I remember was James Braddock. When I was a dealer, I couldn't sell his autograph. Then all of a sudden, Cinderella Man hits the big screen and everybody wants his autograph. So there's an example of how things can change just by advertising it in a way, whether it be by a film, a book, or
Yeah,
some other
I'll
attention.
tell you one thing. Sorry to interrupt. I'll tell you one thing that really applies to that right now is the Bulls documentary.
Oh yeah.
Last Dance.
Oh,
That is driving prices through the roof on even Pippin cards and Rodman cards,
there
anything
you
Bulls
go.
related, Jordan era is going nuts. And the junk wax boxes. We talk about that every night on my when I'm talking to
Hmm.
people. That stuff has quadrupled over the last while. And especially in the last couple of weeks, it's been crazy. So they're definitely a good example of that.
Yeah, there's a generation of people that are now seeing just how good that guy was.
Yeah,
Even, it's one of the few shows that my 13-year-old will watch with me. He's really enamored by what they did, the Bulls and Jordan specifically, and he's seeing, wow, this guy was comparable to LeBron, if not better. And it's something that if you don't put it right in front of someone, they might not realize that. Or I've always been a historian, more than a fan. I'd have to say I'm a historian, and I've always enjoyed looking back and seeing what people enjoyed before I came along. There were, and everything's relative. I mean, you can't expect somebody from 100 years ago to have been on the same ball field or same court as somebody from today and be as effective. But it's you don't want to compare eras necessarily because it's not fair. But what that person did at that time, when everything wasn't even playing field, everybody had the same nutrition, the same, the same weight program or off-season training, if there was one. I mean, they all had that opportunity to be as great as that person from that time frame.
yeah, yeah. Very cool.
Mm.
Well, can we take a look at a couple of items here? And
By all means,
all
let's see
right,
what we got.
I'm gonna change things around here a little bit, so you don't get to look at me anymore.
Oh, okay, here we go.
All right, let's do this one first. Got a
Joe
Joe
DiMaggio.
DiMaggio ball here.
Wow. Okay. Even inscribed it too. That's a nice ball. Yeah. I mean, obviously, balls like that sell for more money than balls that are just signed with his name. People love inscriptions. I remember back in the late '80s, early '90s, it wasn't as popular to get something inscribed, but now it's like they charge more money for it now. What's the insignia at the top of that ball? I can't quite see it. Oh wow, even
DiMaggio.
better.
Was that a series that was done? Do you know?
Yeah, well, I don't know the exact year of that. Particularly, is the rest of the label on there? I could see.
Yeah, it says AMS 1998.
Okay, well, that's you're looking. He died, the next year, so uh, that lesson. And by the way, at the end of his life, obviously he was infirm, so he wasn't able to. So that's a real nice ball there.
Yeah, everything looks right about it though in terms of the signature. And I mean, is there anything that you look at when you see a bad DiMaggio versus a good one?
Well, one thing to look at, with his autograph, I guess, my eyes dart towards something immediately. And, the two G's at the bottom, if you
Yep.
notice, they're not identical to each other. A lot of the forged ones have very, very the same size loops. I love the way the A's formed, even the transition where it goes from the E and Joe to the D. It just has a lot of spontaneity to it. And notice the two little dots he has at the very end of his autograph.
Yeah.
Where he picked up that habit. I always wondered, and I noticed that Lou Gehrig did the same thing with his autograph. Now, obviously, Lou's career preceded his. Actually, they did overlap, and I would bet you that that's where he got that habit from of putting those two dots on there, that last dot after the O, because you don't see that when he was in the PCL back in 1935 before he came to the Yankees. You would see it, in his career, early on in his career, he would start doing that. So I think that practice came from Lou.
That's cool. I'd never heard that before. So obviously was doing it for most of his career then. As a Yankee, you see that from early Yankee
Oh
balls.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. I got one more here.
Okay.
Let's see if that rolls away. No. All right. So it's a Willie Mays. It's got the Say Hey authentication logo or hologram on it or whatever, sticker.
What type of ball is that, Lou? Do you have a?
It's a Major League Baseball.
Right.
So
Unfortunately, that one there probably would not get real strong scores from me. I'm looking at the way the ILLIE is made, and it's way too rounded. He would have like a much more of a flattened push towards the baseline of his autograph. The sticks up way too high. Unfortunately, I've seen a lot with that logo on that I would not pass at JSA. I don't know who got their hands on those stickers, but that's not necessarily
right.
One that I would feel comfortable with.
Yeah, yeah. So just because it has that authentication, the sticker that was Say Hey authentication. That was tied together with him specifically, his deal, correct? He had those labels.
I mean, originally I believe he was the one that sanctioned that particular sticker, but whose hands it got into, I don't know specifically. Sure. But I could tell you, I think there are people that took liberties with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot like the scoreboard authentic certs that are out there. I mean, it's a piece of paper, it's a sticker.
Yeah. I get a kick out of it when somebody says, oh, I got this autograph. Can you send me a sticker? I said, I wouldn't give my stickers to my mother. There's no way. You have to be very, very careful with your stickers, and only your agents, the people that work for you could ever have access to them. I can't imagine. And I've seen loose stickers being sent out in the mail by certain authentication services or even the athletes themselves, and it's a very poor practice.
Yeah. It's only as good as the name behind it. So if you're loose with that, that's a problem for sure, I would imagine. So
yeah.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. It's good. I thought it'd be kind of neat to show people what you look at when you're looking at an item like that. It's interesting to hear that you're using multiple people. I know when the guys are here, they would some things are pretty cut and dry, and then there's others that are sent to committee, so to speak, right? And you've got 2 or 3 people looking at that thing, right?
Well, if something is valued over $200, it has to go on to what we call a letter of authenticity as opposed to a certificate of authenticity. The letter is, shows that the item has greater value. It also is more descriptive. Our basic cert is good for lower priced items, but we don't want anything to get by. And that's why the letter of authenticity gives me the opportunity to see a clear image, a digital scan of the item. And before I actually sign my autograph to that letter of authenticity, there are a series of scores on it from our other authenticators. They get an opportunity to score it themselves. And it's so important to have a good set of eyes, many sets of eyes on an item so that if I'm having a bad day, somebody else will pick up on a mistake or if they have a greater knowledge than I have, or vice versa. That's why we like this committee, authentication by committee. And so that not one person is this omnipotent body, this Wizard of Oz behind a curtain that's going to just give it a letter just because he says it's, I can't bully my way into giving something a letter because the rest of the staff has to agree with it. And I think that's always surprises people when I tell them that, I'm not just the one person opining on this. I think it's safer, it's prudent to be able to allow your staff who you've trained. And in some cases, they may have more knowledge of that specific item because they collect it. They've been more intimate with that particular part of the industry. Or somebody might be a bigger NASCAR fan than I am, so they know Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s autograph better than I think that's so important that we tap into the brains of all these people that work for you, and you've trained and you've worked alongside of them. And a lot of these people have been with me for now 10 plus years, and I value their opinions as well.
That's great. Yeah, I know everybody I've worked with at JSA has been phenomenal and very knowledgeable. So it's that's awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I don't want to take up any more of your time.
No, Lou, it's people like you that keep us in business. People put that faith in us, and we enjoy coming to your shop, and it's great. It's a wonderful experience. I've met so many great people and friendships over the years, through this industry, and I'm flattered by that you have me on. I really am.
Well, thank you. I'm flattered that you agreed. So that's great. I can't wait to get a chance to get together again at some point, hopefully soon.
Yeah. I don't know if I could promise you my golf game will be any better than what you've seen in the past, but probably not. So
yeah, well, I'm right there with you. So all right, well, take care. I'm gonna hop off here, and I appreciate everything.
Thanks so much. Take care, Lou.
See ya.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you talk to people, tell me going live.
All right, so guys, we're gonna go live. We're gonna change it up. We're gonna take it off of Zoom, so we're gonna lose a little bit of video here for a second, and then we got some box breaks and some other stuff to talk about. There's that, and we're still on the audio. No.
And we should be, we should be on with audio. Hopefully people can hear you right now talking.
Yeah, I got this.
Is this? Nope, not yet. Okay.
Well, you can see me in the corner anyway, so that was awesome. Went a lot smoother than when we had Dr. Beckett on as well, and we will definitely have him back for a repeat that does get put on. So we're playing around with the video right now, but Jimmy is amazing. He's got some wonderful stories that he shared, and every time I get together with him, it's really cool just to hear him talk about different things. So I've got the screen up now. So if there were a few comments there that I was unable to pass along or questions, I apologize. I tried to mix those in. Somebody did ask, do fakes get destroyed? And that they don't. They go back to who is trying to get them authenticated. I'm unfortunately, you can't really do that. If I see a counterfeit card come in here, I can't, shred it. Hopefully the person that I give it back to does, but or if I see a trimmed card for that matter, I can't do anything about it. So they end up, I've bought trimmed cards before, and I've sent them into the authentication companies and had them label it as authentic, and there's still some value to it. But in a baseball that's signed, and it's and we've had a few where we'll send it to multiple authentication companies, and it's get one that says no and one that doesn't. So okay, but real quick, Jason, Mosaic filled yesterday. You had 3 teams. I don't remember which ones they were. So it looks like Sean's in there popping in. He's not even here, and he's on it. So I assume, unless that went from Brent here. But I will get with you later, let you know the teams, and your cards are here for pickup anytime you want. Yeah, that was awesome. Now, as I discussed before, next week. Hold on 1 second, guys. Next week we got Jeff Rosenberg from TriStar, and he's going to be joining us. We're going to do our a live break with his new product, Platinum Baseballs, and that releases the same day. So that's kind of cool that we're doing it on release day. And Jeff is a really interesting guy. He has the exclusive memorabilia deal with Tom Brady. He's worked with, through TriStar, he's worked with so many of the different players that are everybody's heroes. So it's pretty cool. And I mean, he also owns the Field of Dream stores in Las Vegas. The other ones, he owns the franchise or the corporate name, but the stores that are in Minnesota and Dallas are not his. I think maybe Houston too. They're not his. They were owned, and when the company was changed hands, the owners of those franchises maintained that ownership. So, we spent a lot of time together, and some of the stories that he shared with some of the players and experiences that he's had have been really incredible. So, let's see if there's any comments that I did not cover. So we have credentials, which came out today, and we have one box ready to be opened. I do not know if I just think the one for Nick right now. Anybody else wants any open? We're ready to rock on that. Give me 1 second. I think
Good.
Yeah,
Right.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think everything's locked.
Yeah. Can you make sure that the back is locked? That bar, do you know that little hex key that's on the right side wall? If it's not, I'll dash off and do it myself. That's all right. But thank you very much for helping. I appreciate it. I'm afraid of certain things going wrong after last week, so I didn't want that to take it.
No problem.
So, all right. Thanks, Brent. Yeah, there's some other people on my list. I wanted to wait until I made sure that everything went smoothly today before I asked them. Didn't want any surprises, and just have somebody commit to it and then find out that this just isn't working. I mean, I know everybody else is doing Zoom meetings and is able to post them to Facebook, but we struggled with that for some reason last week, and I don't know why, but it's not happening now, so we're good.
Sean just emailed. I'm just gonna fix something. Keep doing your thing.
Yeah. Besides that, good to find out that my Joe DiMaggio ball is real and my Willie Mays ball is not. Not really good to find that out, but good to know it. It's the Mays ball came in a large collection a long time ago. I had my doubts and set it aside, so it was meant to go in, and I kept forgetting about it because it was back in my office. It's interesting to see, just because it has that certification, that little sticker there that says "Say Hey Authentication." Everybody assumes it's got to be real, but it doesn't mean that it is. Same thing with scoreboard certs, or anything. You got to be very cautious with things. So you can be pretty comfortable with a JSA, a PSA, or a Beckett certification, BAS certification sticker on it, or UDA, TriStar. Those are ones that have, I guess there's potential for anything to be, faked, but, stickers or whatever. But, that's the tough part. We have to put our faith in certain companies and, their certifications. So, all right, well, Nick, I want to make sure Nick's on before I break the box, and if he's not, then we will hold up. But yeah, besides that, we have our hockey break. So I'll just talk about that while I'm watching. So right now I would be glad to open the credentials, but who wants to have a box open for him is the question. So I'm waiting for Nick. So as soon as he hops on, Oh, there you are. All right, well, we can do that. Just a heads up, we just posted our hockey break. It is up and live. It's a sealed 10-box case of credentials, plus 2 each SP Game Used, SPX, and Trilogy. So I expect that'll fill pretty quick. 57, 3 for 54 each. So Tino's asking what's in credentials. There's debut ticket access autograph cards. You get 6 cards per pack, 8 packs. And I'm just looking for the guarantees if there are any. Just double check one thing real quick, guys. I don't want to be able to tell you that for sure. So it says 1 to 2 ticket access or star of the night autos per box. So, Nick, let's get this thing rolling. I got to grab my I got my blade here. So, let me tilt this guy down a little bit. So, good luck with this thing. Looking forward to seeing it. Still not tipped up enough. There we go. So I've got a big screen that has all the comments coming through, so that's a lot handier than having to look to the side. Still going to tilt this over, though. All right, good luck, Nick. So Ben, Taze, Jack Hughes, Rookie Science. That's kind of cool. And look at that. Debut ticket access. Les Bronze, numbered to 999. And Gustafson, numbered to 999. And Bennington. So 2 numbered cards in there. Jack Hughes, rookie. Dowdy, Hart, Rookie Science of Adam Fox. Oh, there's our first autograph. Alexander Teixeira, the Blue Jackets. Nice auto. Larkin and Marchand. So it said 1 to 2 autographs. Hopefully this one gets 2. Lundqvist, Panarin, rookie credentials of Grunstrom, credentials through the boards, Youngblood, that's cool, Curdy Dock, Matthews, and Ovechkin. Since it's just me here tonight, I didn't know how long the interview was going to take, and other than Brent assisting me, Tony and Sean took off, but in hindsight, I wished I would have had Sean hang out during the interview, but we didn't have too many calls in there. Wheeler, Giroux, Rookie Science Dobson with the Rangers, or Islanders, sorry. Here's another autograph. This one is Trent Frederick on card, nice looking, numbered to 65, debut ticket access. Yeah, it said 1 to 2.
Guys,
oh, hold on 1 second. Let me.
How much?
I was recording as we were going, so Rantanen and Carey Price. Stuff's pretty cool looking. I like the acetate card. Hopefully there's one more auto in here. I don't know. Eichel, Aho, Carey Price. That's cool. Number to 99, Malkin card, credentials. O'Reilly and Seth Jones. There's McDavid card there. Bergeron. Suzuki credentials, rookie science. Ganack credentials, number to 999. Or ticket, debut ticket access, I should say. Backstrom and Malkin. Fleury, Pedersen, Panarin, Clifton, number to 699, debut ticket access, Crosby and Barzal. Boy, not too many names in here that I've hacked. Bever would be proud of me right now. Godreau, how about that one? Kane, Mikheyev, rookie science. Tashir debut ticket access, number to 499. Domi and Kessel. So it looks like the that acetate was one. You got the gold Malkin. The acetate, which is not numbered, unless it's numbered on the back. Kirby Doc. A few other parallels in there. But the Frederick debut ticket access autograph, numbered to 65. And Alexander Tashir, the Blue Jackets. So, nice box. I like the product. And I like any product right now. Most any product that's coming out that gives us some things to sell that's new. You know, who could have possibly planned for what we're going through? So whatever gets out there, you know, is bonus right now. So later this week we have Leaf Best of Sports. Thought about doing a break with that. It's kind of cool. A lot like the Best of Football, but it's across all sports. You know, same box. We could go for a Jordan or a Mantle rookie. What else? I'm working on some other. I'll have a baseball and another basketball break up and available soon. You know, I'm gonna shoot for dates, and usually we're hitting them no problem. But I'd like to have a break that people can sign up for each sport running kind of consecutively. You know, or maybe 2 or 3 different, you know, sport breaks, one for each sport. So, you know, we'll have the hockey up. We'll get the baseball going. We're also going to have the K-line deal. I don't have that done yet. It's just not enough time in the day. You know, got to prep for singles night tomorrow night, which is always fun. And besides that, geez, you know, nothing else. So not too busy, but my wife's kind of laughing because she would always, I leave a little later in the morning, but you know, and sleep in a little. But you know, crummy weather, I haven't felt the need to go out try and golf or anything in the morning. But you know, besides that, you know, we're you know, just you know, I'm here so late at night now. Before I was also here later and probably started earlier. Maybe not quite as late as what we're going now. So after I get offline with everybody, I got to make sure all the paperwork's done and all that stuff. So, what else can we talk about? Anybody want to pop any more credentials? I'd be up for that. And trying to think of any. Didn't get anything no new exciting news today. So. Usually I get here around 10 o'clock, Josh. There are for the TriStar break. I know, Josh, you want to get in on that. I've got 2 spots reserved for you, but there's only 2 spots left, or it's either 2 or 3, aside from yours. But it's that's going to disappear pretty quick. We got a whole week before that event, so I don't think I'll do a third, but we do have individuals up on the site as well that you can buy. So if you are interested in pre-booking a box, we can open it that night for you, or we can just have it here for you to pick up or ship. And you can get that Wednesday. They should be live and in our hands. Actually, I think they ship today from Texas. So I think it's Texas that they ship out of. Prism football, we have the hobby at $250, and then the hybrid, which has just the 1 auto on it, is $140, $139. About 6 seconds, Josh. No, I'm just, I don't know. What do you think's a reasonable amount of time? 30 seconds, something like that. It's 30 seconds, 12 baseballs. It's really not going to take long, even 30, 45 seconds. Just a lot of dead air while you're deciding, but other than that. Oh, your case? That'd be fun. All right, that sounds good, Rob. Rob purchased a case from us, so that's always fun to, I can't wait to see this stuff. It's tough because you're, that's the other thing. If you're in that break, if you can't be on, I need to know. I haven't decided on the second break if that's going to be the same style or if it's going to be random. I might do that, and then if you can't be on, I might put you in that second break instead. I'll try to have everybody's phone numbers too, just in case you get kicked off. But that way we can do it over the phone. You can call in your picks, but I'd rather have it where they can just pop up the names and stuff. Have it go relatively smoothly. If you guys are good with it, one, if I can get everybody on board to make sure that and they're there, I'd like to do it that way for both cases. Just open in the way I'm talking about it. Cost. Yeah, that's fine. Especially if I know in advance, Josh. And the very last scenario is that if you can't be on and there's no way I can gain access to you to get that selection, I'd have to pick for you. And I don't want to do that if I can help it. I think I'd probably pick right, but there's going to be some tweeners where it's like, obviously, the best ball is Babe Ruth, and then the next one is, whoever. Obviously, number one choice is going to be Babe Ruth, so there'll be some very obvious ones, but then, and wherever they may fall, they may not be obvious at all. You could end up with, 12 just okay guys, so then it's going to be more personal preference. So, Operation Bullpen was a bad deal. The Marino brothers, or Marino family, was kind of led that whole deal. I was involved in I had my shop at that time in the mid-90s, and there were several other shops that we had dealt with, not so much on memorabilia, but on other stuff, and had known from the National and from other shows that were involved in this thing. Smokies out in Las Vegas, one of I think it was the son, Smokey, went to jail, and his dad, was on house arrest for a year or something. I don't know exactly, but maybe he went to jail as well. than his, So there were a lot of people involved with that. It was massive. A lot of bad stuff still out there. It's a very sad scenario, but things have gotten a lot better. One of the things I remember, this was really disheartening. So we had bought a large collection. There was a lot of Jordan Game Use stuff in there, and they came with letters, but it was bought in the mid '90s, and I've used the term the Wild West. People had a different set of standards back then, and they needed it to be good. They wanted it to be good, so it was good, and they put their name on it. So we were helping sell a collection for a company, and this guy that certified a lot of the stuff happened to work for the auction house at the time, and he was the guy that actually told us that the items, the Jordan items that we submitted to them was bad, and it was his letter that came with it. And it was kind of like, I never talked to him directly. I know him, but I talked to somebody else that I work with at the auction house, and they were like, well, that was a different time and things changed, but the reality is it is what it is. And, it wasn't my stuff. I felt terrible for the people that owned it, but the guy that owned it had a lot of money, and, it wasn't healthy at the time, and didn't really, I don't even know if he ever found out, honestly, So, but it was a sad situation. We see bad stuff come through all the time. It's why you got to be very cautious. It's I'll buy collections, and depending, I'll ask about stories of what what's behind this item. How'd you get it? Where'd you get it? And if I bought it online, it doesn't have the proper authentication, it's as good as bad to me until, it's as if there's zero authentication, and that's the way I got to look at everything, and fortunately I have the ability to send stuff off and get an answer fairly quickly, but yeah. Any other types of people? I think I can guess who would be fun to have on, and great guests to have on. So I'll be working on that list and shooting out emails tonight, actually, or tomorrow. Hang tight for a second, guys. Making sure nothing rolled up. Rolled in for orders. All good there. Well, if anybody else has anything that they want to check out, certainly let me know. Otherwise, I don't have a whole lot to do, and I never want to come off like I'm selling this or I'm selling that. I love opening boxes for people, and I know a lot of people come on here and enjoy whether they buy a box or they just want to watch other stuff. I think that a lot of people are here and enjoy watching the boxes, getting opened. So, I definitely do not mind sitting here and just talking about stuff, other than if sometimes I hit a wall and don't know what to talk about or feel like I've already talked about things. But so I am working on somebody from Topps, from Panini, from Leaf, Upper Deck, for sure. They're on my list. And we will definitely have Dr. Beckett back here to have an actual interview, as opposed to just a conversation, which is what it ended up being last week. Yeah, for sure. He's another golf buddy. I've had the enjoyment of being able to play with him, with Jim, Jimmy Spence. You know, it's the old Hawaii days were when the conferences started out. They were in Hawaii, and Kit Young, if you're familiar with that name, started the conferences out in the I think it was probably the very early '90s. I'd have to check my history of that. And we started going not much after they started, and went for a couple decades in a row. And then they moved over stateside, and then Krause Publications, who owned SCD, bought that show, and then they moved it to the States, to the mainland, and then it kind of fizzled. Then a friend of mine bought it from them, and not even bought it, he just started a different one. Instead of the Hawaii Trade Conference, it became the Industry Summit, and then Beckett bought the show from that person. So it's still going. You know, we'll see. That one's in September. They broke off where Topps does their own thing, as many of you guys know, and I've been at a lot of those things, and I'll flash on with, you know, when we got a player going or we're talking about different things, different events. But so Topps has their own, Upper Deck has their own, and then Beckett runs their event. Then that's kind of like the Beckett Panini Leaf event. So we'll see. You know, the other two already happened before this all the shutdowns started. And September, we'll see. I think that'll probably happen. It's not so many people. Conference has got to keep going, right? But Best of Sports should be up on the site, and it's $199. That should be showing up tomorrow and live in our hands on Friday. I'll have individual boxes available, and then I'm going to save one of my other cases for a case break. And you know, it's last night we did the box of football. Got the who do we get? Dan Fouts PSA 8 out of that. I've seen quite the range of things come out of there. Usually when you do a case, you'll see, you know, some pretty sweet stuff. But $199 is the number on that. Hold tight for a sec. Nice. Jeremy shared a couple of hits that he got out of Inception that he bought. And one was looks like a 101 printing plate of Gavin. Yep, 101 printing plate of Gavin Lux, and then a nice looking Mike Talkman auto, number to 245, Yankee pick. I'm guessing that's a pretty good one. Josh, there wasn't a definitive break because I felt like it just got too expensive. It would have been, you know, I wasn't comfortable with just doing it as a single box. So I would have had to have sold 24 spots at about $200 or a little bit more than that per spot. And I can do that, Nick. If you don't want to go on the site, I can do that. Corey Farmer will tell you don't do that. I missed his spots one time, but I'll get you covered. I've got it down in my notes here. So for the last hockey break, actually. 3 spots, you said? You got it. But I just felt like I didn't have the ability to sell through the entire break, you know, and that's what we're trying to break our, you know, get our numbers up to the point where, you know, and our crowd up to the point where we have enough people in here that do high end and mid range and low end. It doesn't really matter what, so we could break anything, you know, and we're still a little ways away from that. but it's growing. The 2011 Topps update, I think I've sold 2 spots on that so far, Josh. So nothing yet. If it doesn't pick up, if we don't have any activity on it, if people are interested, I want to know. But otherwise, I'll probably just sell it as a blaster box. So I think it's, again, people don't want to necessarily spend the $70 for the spot for the 4 or 5 card pack, 6 card pack. I don't know exactly. It's around here somewhere. But they will, would love to watch it being opened. So hopefully whoever I sell it to is cool with opening it online. We'd love to do that. I'd love to see a trout pop out of it. Tino, no, we ended up flipping the case on that one. Again, I didn't want to sell I didn't want to open a case to sell a box. Sometimes, as what we run into is on a lot of these, you open the box, the case, you sell one box. Selling loose boxes is a lot harder than selling a sealed case. One example for instance would be I was just looking at, we're going to do a basketball break. It's going to be a little higher end, but we're going to include one impeccable. I've had these impeccable around for a little while. If I had a case, a sealed 3-box case, I could have sold it 5 times over at more than I'm asking for the individual boxes. So, it's but I only got the one definitive case, and we ended up selling it. Sold it for $4,800, which is, like I said, about $200 a card, basically. What have you thought of it? I'm sure a few of you guys have watched breaks with the definitive stuff. Thoughts on the boxes? If they were, so that would have to be what, $1,800 a box, 16, about 60. Well, that worked out to $1,600. So $1,600, $1,700 a box. You see the value there? Well, Tino or Josh, have you guys seen any of the breaks on those? Hey, Josh, M, did you, let me read what these guys said. Yeah. Good to know. I'll have to check some breaks out on that. Josh M, you had asked how will the break line up? Is that for the best of sport, or is that for the baseballs? If you're still around, I missed that question. Not sure what you were referring to on that. Well, it rained and was crummy all day long today and last night. Oh, now it looks nice. It's kind of chilly. Yeah, a little sun though. That's nice. Oh, for best of sport, it would have to be I would say we could do same thing that we did for the baseballs. We could do a draft where we open them all, and then first choice, for top of the list gets the first choice on down. Unless you can think of a different way that would be cool to do it. That's kind of what I was picturing. Otherwise, there's no real way to. I would sell 10 spots, 10 boxes, 10 spots, open them all, and then you have choice. depending on, the highest guy has the first choice on down. And we do it, it'd be basically you're buying a box. You're just part of the break. The only difference is instead of a, set box, you're getting your number order. If you end up on the top, you get, your choice is something pretty sweet, I'd imagine. If it's at the bottom, not so much. So I'm trying to do the mixer. I'm trying to do with baseball is about dozen boxes. Looks like I got to do the math on it, but there's a box of tribute. It's no volume of boxes, but one or two of everything. Inception. I got a Lumber Kings in there, Triple Threads, Museum, Bowman's Best, Bowman Chrome. So it'll be a little more expensive, obviously, with that mix, but it'd be fun. Just hope I picked the right boxes to include in it. Yeah, I'm sure there's some interesting cards in there that we definitely would hopefully hit some monsters, right? And same thing with the basketball one. We'd mix in a little bit of Mosaic, but Prism, Mosaic, I think I had Certified in there, and then that Impeccable box. But I'll try to get those up so they're available. Yeah, I mean, does it sound, Josh, like that's a very likely thing to have happen? That we'd start as early as June? What's the concept with no fans, all televised? I know I was listening today. Taiwan has baseball going, no fans, televised. It's getting massive ratings. So that'd be pretty cool. I think when we were on our way down, people were like, "Oh, no way, no fans, that won't work." Now it's like we'll take anything. We'll just any competition is great, right? Yeah, it'll be tough, because they're in so many different markets, and where do you play? It's I guess you go to states that allow for activity, and if there are any that don't, I guess it's an activity without crowds. It shouldn't matter, right? Three divisions, AL and NL Central. Be interesting. I didn't figure we'd start seeing baseball until July, but I really did believe that it would come back in some manner this year. Now they got to talk about something, I mean, ESPN needs stuff to talk about for Sports Center, and sports talk. I don't even turn that on like I normally. When John's in here, it's on, but I just kind of I listen to music more than anything through the day. Not enough relevant news, right? That'd be cool, Rick. I'd love to see that. Well, I think that's my. Well, I don't have anything else to talk about voice or sound, but yeah, hopefully that happens. Something, right? Didn't I hear that basketball teams were talking about that'd be nice, right? I like that, Cubs and Tigers. Didn't I hear basketball? We were talking about practicing, like in yeah. Let me know. I haven't heard closely. That the one negative is not having Sports Center on and listening to it all day is that I do miss out on things, and I haven't had enough time to sit here on the online and dig into what's going on completely. So I'm looking to you guys for information. Um, well, the situation with you know the COVID-19 has delayed a lot of releases, and what I'm waiting to hear back on is will the Dallas facility be opened by the end of the month or within a couple of weeks. I believe that their executive order is through the end of this month, so there should be some announcements, and Dallas is kind of where it's at, with most of the printing happening at facilities in that area. Um, so there's Bowman could still come out in mid-May. Hopefully it does. I'm not sure. I'm looking for a date for Bowman first to see when that's supposed to start rolling. That is not being printed there, so that'll be out before regular Bowman for sure. And then Panini, all Panini's products are on hold. The Mosaic, several. I don't even know. I've kind of lost track of what's not come out. But when the highlight is just a couple of releases, fringe releases. I won't call Credentials a fringe release. Upper Deck is not fringe by any means, but well, prices have skyrocketed on a lot of things. It depends on what it is, but hockey hasn't really gone up a lot in price, which is nice. Probably because the number of collectors out there for hockey isn't quite as large as basketball. There's not as much hype on it. And the product is continuing to come out. Nothing was really delayed or canceled with hockey, which is nice. That's a tough call, Mark. I don't know. Products are built based on a number of product. Normally they don't build a product, take the order, see what comes in, and then create it. They pretty much have a budget and a set number of product of cases and number of cars that they need to make that product work. So if they have to cut it way back to be safe, that can be especially with a company like Topps and or Panini. Leaf can do it. They can adjust their numbers as needed, and they do. A lot of times I truly believe that there's times where not now but in past years when Brian Gray, who owns Leaf, was building that line, he was not making money on some releases, just doing whatever it took. There's a very fragile line where a little too much is a lot too much, and if you cross that line, you have a problem. You're all of a sudden the perception of your product is not good, and you can cut your production in half, and people were thinking, oh, this is no good, and it's, we've been blessed because the content of all our products has been so good. The players, have been so good. Without the players playing, that's a big problem. So, and I don't know. Obviously, to be considered to get rookie status, you have to play a certain amount of at bats. I don't know. Will that change this year? If they start in June, there's still enough time to get there. Maybe they prorate it, and call it you need X amount of at bats, and that's you know, if you multiply that times 0.6, because that's how much our season, of our season we played, then that probably makes sense. I would imagine some releases will get short printed though. I mean, like a Tops 2, is there a lot of value for a Tops 2? I can see update being big, but well, I don't think Zion played enough games to be considered Rookie of the Year. It's but so I think Ja's got that, but I don't know. Is there any chance that NBA happens anymore? I mean, it's probably right now we'd be in playoffs now. I mean, so probably not. The beginning is of playoffs, right? It's the funnest time of the year. All the sports, this and September when all the sports are going at the same time. Just making sure we're not missing anything here. Well, I did have my free giveaway ready for today. I just got to remember what it is. May as well do that since we're all here. Oh, I did. I was throwing in a Jack Hughes rookie moments for the credentials purchase, so you will get that, Nick. Thank you. What did I have? Oh, I know. All right. So we'll give away one of these baseball treasures. So you got a shot at a silver coin. And it's either silver or bronze. You can open it up and see afterwards, or we can open it up before and then see. A Ferrari. Leaf is actually not, Panini has the exclusive license with Collegiate. If you're talking football and basketball, well, football and I guess it's football. They just do football and baseball. But Leafs values have stayed pretty consistent. I would say apples to apples, Panini's going to do you're going to get more money with the logoed stuff with Panini. Topps opening day did happen. We have 2020 opening day in stock, Corey. Door number 2. You don't want the baseball coin, Mark? All right. Well, let's do this anyway. So we're gonna do the wheel. So give me an even odd. There's not that many people here, so this big screen with all the comments here should be able to keep track pretty good. Oh, I see what you mean, Corey. Yeah, I don't know. So anybody that wants to get in on the free giveaway, give me either even or odd, and then we'll spin the wheel and then narrow it down. You know, these gold coins, the coins, there's actually gold and silver coins. I've seen silver, I've never seen gold. But the gold are insanely valuable just in the, in the material itself, but the silver and even the bronze are quite collectible if you get the right players, the Trouts and those kind of guys. Oh, that's good. I'm glad to hear you got the Aaron Judge. I think I remember that. That's cool. Make sure I got everybody here. All right. Well, we're going to end it right at Will. Anything below Will that comes in does not count. And here we go. All right, it's odd. So Mark, Rob, JJ, Scott, and Will give me a number, and then we'll spin till we win, or you win. I think we got everybody. 5. So we'll spin till we hit a number. If it's 3, then we'll have to do that again. Ooh, is it going to be 8? Nope, 7. Almost got it, Will. Went the wrong way. 10. No. This could take a while. Turn your volume down, guys. 4? No. Right between 3 and 5. Oh, 11. No, spin again. Killing it, Smalls. 4. Wait, no, we needed 3 or 5. Good Lord. You guys laughing yet? Oh, there, stop. We just do even odds until we get it. 8. 8 it is. Yeah, Will. All right. Thank God. All right, let's open this thing up and see if you got anything cool. Well, it looks like it was kind of hard to crack, but you got a, oh, Miggy. That's cool. Hopefully he's a PC guy for you. It's the bronze. Cool item, though. I like the company. I like the line. We did okay with it out of the gate, but started to slow down a bit. But cool stuff. I'll put that in your pile, Will. Congrats. Mark it before I forget real quick. I got one more of these. We've had these kind of hanging out for a while. I'll probably bring them back in again for holidays for next year. So there's that's can't even imagine holidays. You know, obviously we're only into almost into May, so it'll be here soon enough though. Sounds good. Yeah, we'll be here on Friday. I'll be here early and then late in the day, but Sean will be here. John will be here. Saturday I'll be here all day too. So tomorrow we'll be busy. We'll be rocking, getting ready for singles night. Got some cool stuff. We'll have the K-line deal worked out for sure. And I will show off all the cards. We'll put them up on the site too. So a little collage of all the autographed K-line cards that you can get. But other than that, unless anybody needs anything ripped or has any other cool things to chat about, I did pull out this 18 update. I'm surprised people didn't ask about that one. Sold a couple hobby boxes today, and that's what's left is the 18 retail. But that stuff got crazy expensive. The hobby sold at $4.59. I think that's cheap. You know, that's like eBay numbers are a little bit less. But you know, actually Blowout bought it from us, so you know that they it must have been a little bit inexpensive. But this guy is $3.50 on the retail. But all right, guys. Well, there's down to 11 people here, so I'm going to shut it down for the evening. I appreciate it. It was awesome having Jimmy Spence on. I'm really looking forward to the future events that we're doing for interviews coming up. And thank you for being a part of it. Have a great night. I'll leave it up for a few minutes if anything pops up, but otherwise, I'm going to get some work done.